Welcome to Coffee Talk, brought to you by Hyatt Commercial.
I'm your host, Justin Mullen, where industry executives talk leadership, culture, and commercial real estate. Grab your coffee and let's talk business.
I was over hitting golf balls at Old Line today, which is that indoor simulator today. And Kyle, I think it's Kyle who owns it, was like, "Hey, I've been watching your podcast," and I was like, "You're up next, man. Let me know when you're ready." And so he will be a guest. It's typically business owners too that like say something to me.
Yeah, probably a lot of them listen to pod. I mean,
that's what it is. All of us are like in the car, and so
right.
That's what I mean. You listen to a lot of podcasts, so you get at it. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it. I'm always
Ryan
consuming content.
Ryan and I know each other from our kids. We've got boys that play sports together and are in class together, and currently are sick together right now.
It's great.
They went to Great Wolf Lodge, and for Watts' birthday, and they caught the Great Wolf Lodge flu.
Right?
So, all right. Well, with that, let's go ahead and get started. Okay. So, Ryan Peusch, welcome to the show today. Appreciate having you.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, we like to start off the podcast asking a very specific question. So as we do, I'll ask you, if you had to describe your leadership style in one word or just a couple of words, how would you do that?
Well, thanks for having me, by the way. I'm excited to be here. I would say my leadership style is, honestly, I take the mindset of more of like builder and less professional manager. I like to provide like the why to my team and then pretty much get out of the way, right? I'm not a big meeting setter. I kind of like the things, have things kind of go pretty kind of fluid with the team, which is why I try to hire people that are typically better at me than most things in certain departments. So I would say my leadership style is probably pretty lax.
So in two follow-up questions before I ask you to introduce yourself. As a builder, are you the technical builder or are you the idea builder?
Yeah, I'm more the vision, the idea.
Yep.
And then I work really closely with my business partner, Craig, who builds out our platform, our product, if you will.
And so with the two of you as partners, does he also manage, or do you have then somebody that kind of manages and leads the team?
Yeah. Craig doesn't like to manage either.
Yeah.
No, we got into
like
this.
Real founders.
Yeah. We got into this like really just wanting to work together and kind of scratch an itch that we both saw in the energy space and not manage now at this point, like 22 people.
Nice.
So like my management style, I get some praise from some people where it's like, I'm not micromanaging. It's very much like you set the vision, I'm going to go execute.
Yep.
Right. And then I have other people on the team that really do like direction, want to be managed. And that's, I struggle with that.
Yeah. That's not unlike a lot of the guests that we have on, but before we dive into the details of that, let's go ahead and I'll let you introduce yourself and your company and where you are right now professionally.
Sure. Ryan Peusch, co-founder of Zentility. Zentility is an energy procurement platform, and we'll get into more of that in a minute, but we operate in the energy brokerage space. That's the deregulated electricity and natural gas market, which not many people understand or know about, but hopefully after today, they'll learn a little bit more about it. I started out working at Constellation Energy, which is a big energy company in the US. My dad's been at Baltimore Gas and Electric for, 40 years. So I kind of grew up in the utility space. And from there, started working at Constellation, saw a problem, and then, ended up leaving about 7 years ago to kind of pursue this idea that I had. And, it's been going well since. We've been growing. We're, as I mentioned, about 22 employees. We have thousands of buildings, hundreds of thousands of meters that we're managing. And, we're growing pretty quickly right now.
Yeah. And on the personal side of life, no surprise to our listeners, because a lot of my guests have come from our sons are very good friends, play sports together.
Yeah.
We were just commenting, they had a birthday party this weekend at Great Wolf Lodge with your parents, which was amazing that they took a couple of the boys up there. And of course, both came home sick.
Yeah.
So that's one of the pleasures we get to deal with as parents, dealing with the kids' day-to-day activities. But all right, so leaning back in though. So before you started Zentility, you were with Constellation.
Yeah.
Were you an energy trader at that point? Were you working on a desk? What was your role there?
When I originally started, I kind of bounced around the different departments. So was on the trading floor a little bit, but really kind of quickly moved to the retail side of the business. And the retail side, what that means is like there are 13 states that allow in the US that allow for electricity choice, meaning businesses, and we only focus on businesses. We don't do anything with homes, single family homes. We don't touch that. But for businesses, they have the ability to shop the price they pay for the power that they're using. And they don't have to just go with the incumbent monopoly utility. So there at Constellation, learning the ropes on the retail side, I got to work with, hundreds of energy brokers, energy consultants, energy advisors. They call themselves different things, but basically middlemen that would go into businesses and help businesses make procurement decisions, do their budgets, think about maybe like managing their load, meaning their energy usage. That's a pretty big market. And 75% of the businesses in the US that operate in the deregulated choice markets use a broker.
And just to kind of make sure everybody understands that a little bit, I will do my best to explain it. You tell me where I'm wrong.
Yep.
But somebody sits at a desk at Constellation and manages the load, right? They're calling or however, ordering the coal plant to push more, ordering the nuclear plant to reduce over here, and hour by hour, right? And they're selling it, or buying it from a different plant and trading it back to the market, right? And so the broker is somebody that is on behalf of the businesses or building owners is trading that energy and locking them into certain rates for periods of time. Is that accurate?
Yeah, pretty much. I'll give it my try explaining kind of like from a stack standpoint, right? Kind of picks and shovels at the top, right? You have the powers being set, right? Across the country, there are different grid operators. They're called ISOs, right? And when you're setting the power, this is basically all of the generation we have in these different geographical areas, right, are setting the price for power on that day. There's a commodities market where people can trade power, right? Depending on, again, how it's moving, what's going on in that time of the year. Nowadays with geopolitical issues, with weather issues, it's very volatile, right? But you're at the top, you're setting the power with the generation, the natural gas, the coal, the nukes, the wind, the hydro, the solar, all that's up here, right? Then you have like call them like the suppliers and the utilities. The suppliers are like Constellation. They operate though only in certain states that allow for that. Other states can't do anything with it, right? But in 13 states for electricity, you have suppliers that have worked and decoupled the utility bill. So they work really closely with BGE or
right. So the buyer is BGE and Constellation.
They're like the distribution line. So BGE is always going to maintain and own the pipes and the lines.
Gotcha.
Right.
Oh, gotcha.
But the supplier is taking over the supply portion of the bill. Right. So really, it's just the commodity, right? It's not anything infrastructure based, right? So like the commodity from the Constellation's point of view, right, is, okay, we're going to take a position in the market. We're going to say, look, Hyatt Commercial has 20 buildings, right? We're going to go to market today and see what we can get a price. And then other suppliers will do the same thing, right? And then they'll package that up in the form of a retail electricity contract, right? And then you'll sign that contract to go, okay, instead of paying 14 cents for power right now, I can get a price from Constellation at 11 cents. I'll want to lock that in for 12 months. So they lock it in for 12 months. And the broker helps them talk to all those different suppliers, and they help the customer figure out what to do, because most people don't get it.
And now where do you guys fit in?
Yeah.
Now you've got a technology that you've kind of added into that stack, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, like, going back to what I was doing at Constellation, right? And also kind of what I was doing on the side while at Constellation. Like at Constellation, I was working with, again, so many different brokers and consultants. They had to come to Constellation to get the pricing so they potentially could make money from selling that retail contract, right? So I got to see their business model from the supplier side. how much they were charging, how they provided us the information we needed, like the bills and the meter information and the authorization forms and, the previous contract terms, and all these things had to come over to us. So I got to see how they did that. And on the side, because I'm friends with people like Craig, who were writing code for the big banks in New York. And, before Craig left to come full-time, about 5.5 years ago when I left to come full-time at Zentility, he was working as the chief architect of BNY Mellon. So like he was not doing anything with energy, but a lot with programming and a lot with software development, right? So on the side, he and I would be like conjuring up ideas. Like before Zentility, we had this thing called House Crunch and Groupity. We had these like ideas that we were playing with because we thought it was cool. It was the only reason why. It wasn't like, oh, like we want to be, a broker. It was,
you saw a trading market, an opportunity.
And it was really kind of like, oh, we like this.
Yeah.
Like how do we put our spin on it and go to market with it? Because we thought it was cool. It was scratching our itch, really.
Right.
And we were doing other things. And I was like, hey man, dude, there are these energy brokers that I keep working with every day. Like if we did something like what Betterment's doing or what Wealthfront's doing in fintech or finance, or what like back in the day was called Zenefits, what they were doing with like HR and insurance, like all broker-oriented markets, all middleman-oriented markets, right? We were like, oh, we could do this for energy brokering. And that's why we were like, okay, we don't consider ourselves as an energy broker.
Right.
We consider ourselves a platform where brokers can use it, big businesses can use it, consultants, anybody can use it if they want to, right? That's how we kind of went to market with it. And we learned a lot along the way. Honestly, we first went to market trying to like buzzword disrupt the traditional energy broker model, automating, getting out of spreadsheets. And like businesses typically, even today, honestly, they still buy like at 95. They're still like, it's very slow manual process, right? So we were like, okay, let's take that and let's build that directly for the business. But then along the way, over the course of time, as we're kind of like, trying to figure it out, trying to find that product market fit, we were like, oh, these consultants and brokers, they have a lot of relationships and they're deep relationships. It's hard to sometimes dethrone those relationships. So let's maybe build some tools for them and see if they like it, right? And then we started to do that. And then we got some big companies that come on and go, oh yeah, we want to use this for our internal energy kind of consultant team, right? And that's kind of how it kind of came.
So again, trying to kind of, for lack of a better description, dumb it down.
Yeah.
Right. There's a broker or an end user.
Yep.
Right.
Building owner or a broker.
And they come to your platform where you're aggregating a ton of data in real time. Right.
We're putting the data that is necessary for the contract in a more automated workflow that we've built that has a lot of industry-related knowledge built into it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So rather than having to go direct to Constellation and somebody else, you've got all of that data in there.
We have that dialed in.
Right.
And more importantly, we've spent years working with the suppliers to build them their own portal. Because the reason why the suppliers like working with us, and we're not the only ones in town, of course, but like they like working with us. And what we've heard is that we've built such a simple way for them to do business with us. Like we give them and their reps that work with us a portal, right? And they work through the emails that they get and the portal, but the portal has everything organized and it directly connects into their pricing models. And that took a while to build. It took a while to convince them to even use it, right? And while we were building that for them, we had to have the supply. We had to have the volume for them to even care, right? Because right, if we're not giving them any business, then who cares, right? So we spent years building out these, digital rails, if you will, with these suppliers so we could send information over and they knew what it was and they could send it back really easily. That part is really why a lot of, whether it's a broker, whether it's a big real estate group, whatever, that's one of the big benefits they get with us.
And so really the goal is like to reduce the friction as much as possible by providing a clean, easily understood and easily interfaced kind of platform where a broker or a owner could come directly and trade on a even shorter time frame. Is that fair? I mean, is this happening more frequently because you've done that? Or each client's got a different,
they have a different
time frame.
Each client has a different way they want to handle it, because a lot of the times, again, 75% of the market that I operate in, the energy procurement market, is made up of brokers.
Right.
So they usually have some strategy they've been told for years that they think is going to work, and they'll usually go with that. Real estate groups love budget certainty, right? So they're like, oh yeah,
Right.
I want to do 12-month and I want an all-in fixed price, and I do not want this price to change.
Yeah.
Like, period.
Yeah.
Some groups that are a little bit more, risky, a little more, it could take on a little bit more risk.
Yeah.
They might be like, okay, let's go to the wholesale market, which is where the pricing is the cheapest. You can't find cheaper power than the wholesale market, but extremely volatile. Right. Just to give you an example, the storm that came through, right, a couple weeks ago, mid-January, if you were exposed, if you were on the wholesale market, it had no what's called hedges in place, no blocks to give you that certainty of any price at all, no price certainty, your price went up 400 or 500%.
That's painful.
In some cases, like, yeah, it was painful. Yeah.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought, because as a building owner, if you're providing that utility, and again, without getting into the weeds on this, I do want to kind of go back to your background and kind of the entrepreneurial side of this, but there's different types of buildings, obviously, and there's triple net leases where, tenants are in control of their own utilities. Building owners don't really care. I mean, they kind of care, but they don't. And then there's,
they path it through, right? So
exactly, a direct path through. Then there's like full service or even a modified gross type structure, which is typically an office building where the tenant is either paying the increases above a base year or paying the utility cost directly on top of a base rent.
Right.
And I don't know that the leases have been written all the time properly to protect against a landlord that might take a risk on something like that. So that's a thought I hadn't given yet, but
yeah, that's the thing is the platform that we've created, right? It has the suppliers built into it, right? And then it has the advisor tools and advisors. It could be a whole different types of advisors. It could be internal real estate groups that have somebody that's doing this already, or it could just be, a broker consultant type, or a property management group, for example, right? And then you have the buyer kind of side of things. And we try to create a way for them to understand the risk of what they're purchasing before they purchase the contract. We try to make it as clear as possible, but some people are like, hey, the index price has been so cheap for so long, like, who just let it ride?
And again, my point is, you could do an office lease where you could, on our side of it, we brokered deals, right? So we could represent a tenant in a Class A office building, and they go, yeah, you only pay your increases above the base year, right? Which means we used to use $3 a square foot or $3.50 a square foot for utility costs, and obviously that fluctuates. But if you don't know that the owner might be using a floating rate,
right?
Yeah, you may see wild swings in that.
Yeah,
now, smart owners won't do that because that's a terrible decision. Anyhow, it's just something that popped into my head sitting here. But for fear of getting too in the weeds on the business, although I think we could do that I'd love to hear more of the genesis of like your story. Meaning, I've told the story on the podcast before where I remember being in third grade and selling airheads and blow pops in the hallway of my elementary school. And that was when it was like, all right, this is what I'm going to do the rest of my life.
Right.
Hopefully it's not airheads and blow pops, but
selling.
I'm going to be selling and I'm going to be building something. And it wasn't just selling. It was like, how many can I buy for as cheap as I can get? How much will I make if I sell them for X price? The selling part, I honestly still to this day, I don't love selling.
Right.
I love the ideas and the thought process and the creative side of business.
Well, I think selling sometimes has like a bad term to it, like the used car salesman type term. I think selling is like the best thing.
Yeah, everybody has to do it. No business
Yeah.
exists without it.
And if you're good at it,
Doesn't
a lot
feel
of things
salesy for one. If you're good at it,
if you're good at it, it doesn't feel salesy. But also, like, if you, exactly, right. Like,
so back to what my question was: is there a time like early in your life, or any time in your life, where you kind of came to the realization, like, I got to be doing my own thing? Like, I'm whether entrepreneur is a term that's used very frequently nowadays. Leadership, creatives, like there's a lot of ways to describe an entrepreneur. So
I would say like things that pop in my head right now. Growing up, my dad, while he was working at BGE, always had a side hustle. Always. He had a hot dog stand, right? He would go out to ball games, he would go out to little league games, right? And whatever, long weekend type thing and sell hot dogs. He also had, before Safe Flight was Safe Flight, he had a couple of relationships with airports, like small little airports where they bring in the cargo for cars, and he would go down and fix the cracks. So it would all, and I would go with them and help him whenever. So I saw the hustle from him. And then really what I wanted to do from an entrepreneur standpoint really started when I caught the bug on the whole tech thing. Like when Craig and I were, and our friends, like his friends and everything, this was like right out of college or right during college. Like we were like reading about what's happening in the Valley and, all these companies that are getting started and like all these companies that are going from, 0 customers to hundreds of thousands of customers in like a minute. Like that excited me. That was like, this is a scale like this. You could do this with one line of code and like get to 1 million people. That got me.
Really, energy was not like the focus. It was getting into tech. But you were in energy. And I ended up in real estate. I had a couple of entrepreneurial ventures before getting into real estate sales. But I just happened to end up in real estate because that's where I started.
Right.
And I love it, but I love the building and the creative of a company more so.
Same thing.
So how did you guys decide to kick this off?
So Craig and I were working nights and weekends on just different projects. We had our friend Kirk. We had other guys that were kind of in helping. It's kind of like kind of a small little group of people that were like-minded. And we were trying out things, and I really loved Craig and how he was just sort of so smart and like just really good, developer. He's got a lot of people that were around us that always thought Craig was one of the better programmers. And I came to him with this idea. This is dating back almost 7 years or so. And it was like, hey, a lot of these traditional brokers and consultants are working with me every day. I think we could come up with something way better and undercut them and build a much better experience for the customer. What do you think? And again, this is just me and him, like what we were doing all the time. We were just coming up with ideas. Yeah. Just like throwing up against the wall, because ideas are easy, right? Yeah. But I was like, we should try this out. And he's like, oh, well, let's try it. Yeah. And we tried it, and we immediately got some good feedback from customers. And we were like, okay. And then we just started slowly and changed over time. But that's kind of really how it all got started. I came to him with the concept, and then we expanded from there. And
so now you're, started with just 2 of you?
Yep.
And now you're at 22.
Yeah.
And do you have a geographic focus? Is it nationwide? What is the...
Yeah. The deregulated energy states. Right. It's just those, it's not everywhere. If you include gas, there's 20 states.
Gotcha. And so how many years is it now? 7?
Full time, we've been at it for about 6.
6 years.
So, but conceptually tinkering around 7 or 8.
Did you guys, when you started, did you set out with a long-term vision or any goals or anything like that?
I mean,
other than just build it up, maybe it's stalled off one day. The tech industry, that's kind of like,
obviously that was a part of how do we grow super, super fast? Yeah. Actually, it's a good question, because our path originally, when we set out to really go all in on building this product out and trying to, air quotes, disrupt this sort of energy brokering industry, right? We actually did attract some venture capital, some VC money, right? And we don't have to get into the whole VC side of things, but that originally I thought, okay, let's be the VC-backed tech company. Right. That was a very clear vision for me, right? And it was hard to get that done. It was with 0 revenue and not much traction, it's hard to raise money, right? So it took a minute, but I figured it out and I got it done, right? Looking back now, I'm glad that I did it, right? But I don't think that I needed to validate myself for being a VC-backed tech company. Yeah. I could have just been a technology company. I could have just said that, right? Yeah. But I think the path led me to kind of go down and raise more money to try to get really big, really fast, right? I think we were able to get, by most people's account, we were able to get pretty big pretty quickly. But when you're venture back, you really have to get really big, really fast, or it doesn't pencil for them.
Yeah, right.
this is kind of how the math works in VC world.
So as you sit here today, 6 years in, do you guys have new kind of long-term vision for the company? Yeah. And how did you create that collectively? Do you set that? And how do you communicate that to the whole team? Do you communicate it to the world?
Oh, yeah. I communicate to the team a lot. They tell me to be quiet a lot of the times. They're like, this is crazy, right? We need to get this done. And then we'll eventually get this, like, because I do tend to, I guess from a sales standpoint, I'm selling like 12 months in advance, if that makes sense, right? I'm like, yeah, we kind of have it. We're getting there, but let's talk about it, right? I'm always pushing the envelope there with where the product's going. But like the long-term vision's changed, right? So originally we wanted to build the platform for the broker consultants. Then we shifted more towards adjacent real estate vendors that would sell into real estate, like HVAC and lighting and stuff like that. And then we morphed into what we do now, which is go to a lot of property management companies and commercial real estate owners and operators around the country and sell them our product. So because we've morphed into sort of who we're selling to, and we've gotten really good idea about who our ideal customer is, right? Our platform now, we want to kind of expand with who our vendor base is, who our suppliers are, right? So we want to go from looking at not just retail electricity and natural gas contracts, but other contracts that you can also buy within energy, right? There's demand response and there's energy efficiency types of products and services. So we feel like our platform and the way we built it naturally lends itself to expanding the supplier network and the advisor network.
And I know, because you and I have had some fun nights together and gone down the rabbit hole on some of the business ideas. I know you've got ideas, and we don't have to get into them outside of even the energy specific industry of using your platform, because you've built such a great infrastructure for it, right? So
I think, well, I'll say this. I mean, everybody's talking about AI, right? And it is a new platform shift. It's basically a new computer that people can work on. And we got in on that 2 years ago. We started building and tinkering with the GPUs and building out, sort of rewriting a little bit of how our even operations work, right, internally in our workflows. I see there's so much opportunity to use that tool and to automate other sort of related tasks in other fields. So that's kind of where I was sort of, when we were talking, I was getting at, now that there's this new platform shift, as a builder, as somebody that's interested in just sort of in general ideas and like thinking and tinkering, why would you not want to try something with this new tool? Yeah. And that's kind of where we're headed, I think.
Well, we could sit here and talk about that all day, you and I. I'm sure we'll get back into this. Even I would love to have you back on at some point and even talk about the transition of software as a service versus AI, because I'm sure that's a big...
I have lots of thoughts, but I mean, nobody knows. That's actually, to me, if you read everything, there's a bunch of doomers and then there's a bunch of non-doomers. If you read and think about and listen to everything, no one knows what's going to happen. And that's the opportunity. Yeah. Because if no one knows what's going to happen and there's a bunch of chaos, you can find the little...
There's going to be plenty of people that fail or their career path changes substantially because of it. And then there's a lot, just as many people that their opportunities explode because they figure out how to do it.
Do you know who Bill Gurley is?
No.
Bill Gurley is an investor.
Yeah.
And he invested in some of the most iconic technology companies in the world. He's been doing it for a while. He just came out with this book called Running Down a Dream. I recommend it. It's an awesome book. But one of the things he said was that I thought was really interesting. He's like, this next wave of era of business in general, it's going to be for the people that take action, right? It's going to be for the people that really lean into it and take action and don't be afraid of it, right? I feel like if you're afraid of it and you're just waiting for your number to get called, your pink slip to get called, so to speak, it might happen faster than you really want it to. Yeah.
Well, with that, it's been a longer podcast than normal, but...
How fast did that go?
So was that 40 minutes, something like that? 43 minutes?
I felt like it was like 3 minutes.
Yeah, well, you've done a great job and we really appreciate you coming in. Yeah. And we definitely should reschedule this because I think you've got a unique conversation. Not every business is relevant to commercial real estate, and that's not why we do this, but a lot of what you are doing is relevant. And so I think there's probably a deeper conversation we could have, really diving into the industry as a whole.
Love to.
So,
yeah.
Cool. Well, appreciate you doing it, man.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me. Yeah. All right.
Thanks for tuning in to Coffee Talk with Justin Mullen. Topics on leadership, culture, CRE, brought to you by Hyatt Commercial. Until next time.